Everyone likes shopping online, but searching for coupon codes is kind of a bummer. So make saving online a breeze with Capital One Shopping. Capital One Shopping is a free tool that instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Just download Capital One Shopping to your computer and let it do the work for you. So easy, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet? Savings and available coupons vary. With the Capital One Venture Card, you can earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every day, and you can use those miles toward travel expenses like flights, hotels, rental cars, and more. Just book and pay for your travel using your Venture Card and redeem your miles toward the cost. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Credit approval required. Capital One Bank, USA, N.A.
The real world is overrated. Escape to Walt Disney World Resort, a place of magic and excitement. Jump to Disney's Hollywood Studios, a place where you can take a ride on the cartoon side, where you can shrink down to the size of a toy and play big, where you can discover a galaxy far, far away, and where your only responsibility is having a blast. Escape to your happy place. Visit DisneyWorld.com/history for more info. Walt Disney World Resort provides what you need to know before you go on DisneyWorld.com. Valid admission and park reservations required. Welcome to Stuff You Missed in History Class, a production of iHeartRadio.
Hello and happy Friday. I'm Tracy V. Wilson.
And I'm Holly Fry.
We talked about the history of migraine on the show this week. Man, this whole episode brought up so many feelings for me.
Yeah.
So I had actually forgotten about my grandmother talking about her sick headaches until I was having a conversation with my dad. And so this must have been in 2019 because I have not seen them yet since it has become a little safer to travel. And I don't even remember how the subject came up, but he mentioned something about it, and he mentioned my grandma Jenny talking about her sick headaches, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally remember that. And then my dad said that he can have migraine attacks if he eats too much really dark chocolate, I think was the thing that he described as a trigger for him. I had pretty bad recurring headaches when I was a child and a teen and a young adult, but never with any of the other symptoms that are associated with migraine attacks.
Right.
And I also never, except for when I was a little kid and I was having weird headaches and I didn't know what was going on. Like my mom took me to the pediatrician and it turned out that was sinus headaches. So then I knew what a sinus headache felt like. But I had a lot more sinus headaches and tension headaches. And I remember going to the doctor one time and being like, I feel like I have a headache all the time. And my doctor said, you have uncontrolled allergies. And I was like, oh, yes, you are correct. I do have uncontrolled allergies.
Let's fix that.
I sometimes would have a headache that was bad enough that I just had to go to bed. But unlike a lot of people describe with their migraine attacks, I could go to bed and go to sleep and sleep it off. It was not something that was waking me up out of sleep or preventing me from sleep.
Yeah. I'm the wussiest human on earth about headaches. I hate them. And even a mild headache is very upsetting to me. I have only had one in my life that fits a lot of the descriptors of a migraine. The sensitivity to light and just the intensity and the nausea and I have no idea what that was about. It was, and it hit as I was walking into a movie that had a lot of cuts that faded to white. And so it just kept getting worse and worse.
Oh,
and I eventually just left and went and sat in the lobby and waited for the people I was with to be done. But it was a one and done. I've never had another one like that before. And that was in my early 20s. But I mean, like I said during the episode, I definitely had a family culture where it was bad headache. People would be like, oh, you have a migraine. And it wasn't until much later in my life that I realized, in my 20s, that I realized oh no, people with actual migraine have a whole different jam than just getting a really bad headache.
Right.
My first exposure was a coworker who was literally it would hit her. She did not get a lot of the warning signals.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it would literally just crumple her body. Like, it would be so bad and so intense, and she would be nauseous and all of those problems that are, you know, kind of acute and intense. And I was like, oh, this is different than headaches that I understood to be migraines.
Yeah.
This is real.
Yeah. I found the whole portion of the research for this episode that was about how a lot of sort of sexist preconceptions evolved around migraine in the 18th and 19th centuries. I got just enormously frustrated with that, because it really feels like people took migraine more seriously before those ideas started to evolve. So, like, the medieval treatments for migraine attacks probably didn't really work, but like, they were there and people were working on it. And as things have evolved until today, considering how prevalent migraine is and how serious and disabling it can be, it's really underfunded and under-researched compared to a whole lot of other things. And it's really hard for people to get diagnosis a lot of the times. And then the idea of people having a hard time getting diagnosed with things, like, it doesn't just apply to migraine. It applies to so many other conditions as well. And I just, I got very angry about all of that during the research.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also that problem, right, that persists. We touched on it a little in the episode, but like, for people that don't have migraine and they do kind of equate it to just a really bad headache, there is often a level of dismissiveness.
Yeah.
Like, I remember a boss, he was not my boss, but was in a different department at a job where we had a coworker that had really quite debilitating migraines. And he was always, never actually said it, but kind of always gave the impression that he believed this person was faking to get out of work. Like,
oh, yeah.
And that's not an outlier at all,
Yeah.
which is very problematic.
Yeah. I had a coworker at one of my first jobs who started dealing with migraine attacks really while we were working there together. Like, we were in the same age, basically the same job position. And she was having to miss a lot of work, both because of being in the middle of migraine attack, but then also because of like trying to go to doctors to figure out what was going on and like get a treatment that actually helped her. And then also left for another job. And our boss told me he thought she had been lying about her migraines to go to job interviews. And that was more than 20 years ago. And I'm still mad about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you said, it's a persistent problem of based on misunderstanding and people not really taking it seriously. Which just stinks, because here's my thing. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, someone just had a regular headache. But if they feel cruddy enough that they think they cannot work, have some grace.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know there's a weird thing about wanting and expecting people to work through discomfort and feeling ill that I think is even worse in the migraine and headache area, but is just across the board kind of a general problem in a lot of workplaces.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there were folks who really hoped that the pandemic would lead to generally more grace of allowing people to have time off if they were ill. And at least at this moment, does not seem to be something that's been universally adopted across businesses here in the US.
No.
It's a whole culture.
It's crazy how much we have to pay for outdated, impersonal healthcare, and even crazier that we all just accept it. It's time to face facts. Healthcare is backwards. Luckily, there's Forward, a new approach to primary care that's surprisingly personal and refreshingly straightforward. Forward never makes you feel like just another patient. Backed by top-rated doctors and the latest tech, Forward gives you access to personalized care whenever you need it. Using in-depth genetic analysis and real-time blood work, Forward's top-rated doctors provide you with in-depth insights to better understand your genetics, mental, and physical health. They then create custom, easy-to-understand plans to help guide you to achieving long-term health. With Forward, You get unlimited in-person visits with your doctor and access to care anytime via the Forward app, all for one flat monthly fee. It's time to stop accepting backwards healthcare and start moving your health forward. Visit GoForward.com today to learn more. That's GoForward.com.
Whether you want to pursue a life as a minister or simply desire to deepen your knowledge of the Bible and widen your understanding of your faith, Dallas Theological Seminary is your first resource. Join believers from across the globe in a spiritual journey of scholarship and service. Learn about all 66 books of the Bible and their theological significance. Find out more about all the enlightening degrees and scholarships at dts.edu. That's dts.edu. Dallas Theological Seminary. Teach truth. Love well.
This episode of Stuff You Missed in History Class is brought to you by HP. We all know that plastics making their way into the oceans, that's become a huge problem. I've seen footage of just the debris and the plastic waste that's on shorelines and plastic floating out into the oceans where it harms wildlife and just really contaminates the ecosystem. HP has created a process that has diverted plastic that could have made its way to the ocean back into their circular supply chain. That's opened the door to a lot of world firsts created from used plastic, from their ink cartridges to the HP Elite Display E273D to the HP Dragonfly. They've saved 1.7 million pounds or 60 million plastic bottles from reaching our waterways and oceans, showing us that with enough thought, product innovation and sustainable practices can work for and not against each other. You can find out more about HP's mission to become the world's most sustainable and just technology company by 2030 at hp.com/hp-sustainability.
This week, we talked about something super disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
Adulterated milk.
But it is one of those things that I really didn't know anything about. So when I stumbled across it, I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, and the food safety story that I think a lot of people are more familiar with is like the slaughterhouse scandals that were covered a lot more widely. Not as much about the milk. We've talked before on the show about in the butter versus margarine episode about the idea that margarine was being made with impure ingredients, but it's a little bit different nuance.
Yeah, the most of the slaughterhouse stuff happened, a few decades later. The milk one really, though, endured. I mean, it was going on for a long time and people were fighting it, which to me is just terrifying. Like, I can understand why there were some people who were like, I'm not using milk at all because I just don't know. Mm-hmm. Especially if this strange mixture was, in some cases, making a convincing doppelganger for actual good milk.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it would, but I don't know. I'm not about to mix chalk and plaster into my milk to see how it turns out. So gross. Mm-hmm. You grew up in a milk drinking house, yes?
Well, yes. So milk drinking house, part of it was just that I particularly liked milk and I drank a lot of it. My brother had a lot of allergies when he was little. And so for a while when I was a kid, we were getting our milk directly from a goat farm because he didn't have the same allergy response to goat milk as he did to cow's milk. And I continued to drink milk a lot, pretty much into my early adulthood, like college years. And then I eventually tapered off. Like, if I am drinking a glass of milk at this point, it's because the thing I just ate is too spicy. And even though there's some debate about whether milk really helps with that, it makes me feel a little better.
I have never been a big milk drinker.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I've historically really, like as a kid, forget it. You were not going to get me to drink a glass of milk. I would literally sit there and stubbornly gut it out in my chair for as long as it took until my mother would take that business away. For no reason that I know. I just probably got it in my head that I didn't like it. I would use it in cereal without a second's thought, but I just didn't want to drink a glass of milk for whatever reason. And I have always used it in coffee, although I have definitely found since probably my 30s when like nut milk started to be on the rise that I just have a way easier time with those in terms of like my body being like, yes, I'm cool with this to digest it. I can handle that. No problem.
Yeah.
And I married a man who is very lactose intolerant, so that worked out.
I cut all the dairy out of my diet at one point because I felt like it was making my acne worse. That's just my own personal experience. I do not need papers about about that. And I kept that up for a while. And I think that might have been the thing that like eventually just sort of cut off the desire to just drink a glass of milk. I do eat some cheese now and put some butter on things.
I eat plenty of cheese. I get a lot of cheese in my diet. But yeah, for my coffee, which I drink a lot of, it's usually an oat milk these days. Delicious, marvelous.
I bought a thing of I think almond milk during the early months of the pandemic, intending to use it to make chia seed pudding because I have a chia seed pudding recipe that I really like. And I never got around to doing that. And so now it's like I'm slowly making my way through this needs to be consumed and not wasted almond milk that I have.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, right? Anytime you talk about any consumable item, just as we demonstrated, one, everyone has an opinion about what you should be putting in your body. And two, that has been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
I did not know about that Cotton Mather writing that was like, God will punish you if you don't breastfeed your babies. And I was just like, whoa, man, yeah. Right out of the gate.
Cotton Mather needs to mind his own business.
No joke. Yeah, and there's always, I mean, it kind of comes down to that thing, right, where you were saying, please don't send me papers about whether or not dairy and acne are actually connected. There's certainly validity that for some people that kind of response could happen because everybody's body is different and you respond to things with different inflammatory responses. And so, you know, I appreciate that everyone thinks they have all of the information on what is best for everyone else. But really, that's between you and your doctor.
Just as a general rule, everybody can focus on their own food choices.
Yes. Yeah, but now, thank goodness, regulations all over the place.
Yeah.
I can't imagine some of the things that were going on in these places. And it's horrifying and not something I want my brain to linger on, both for all of the babies who were dying in horrible ways because their bodies could not obviously process the disgusting things they were being fed by well-intended mothers, surely. And also because those animals were treated horribly and everyone involved. I understand the people who are like, everyone in the supply chain should be punished. Totally get that mentality. But in happier thoughts, I sure am excited to make that meatloaf.
Yeah.
I really am. Kristen's recipe looks very good. I can always check with her and see if maybe we could share that recipe on our social, if she'd be comfortable with that. If anyone else wants to make it, I think it would be a great testament to just the concept of like family recipes that get passed down. If everybody started making her mom's secret recipe meatloaf, that would delight me to no end. As a meatloaf lover, can't wait. I hope that you, if you are headed into a weekend, get a chance to eat and possibly make, if you like cooking, all kinds of delicious things, and that you get some restful time if that is the way your week is structured. If you have responsibilities or you have to work over the weekend, I hope all of that goes as smoothly as possible. We'll see you on the other side. In the meantime, we do have a classic for you tomorrow and then a fresh episode on Monday.
Stuff You Missed in History Class is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Whether you want to pursue a life as a minister or simply desire to deepen your knowledge of the Bible and widen your understanding of your faith, Dallas Theological Seminary is your first resource. Join believers from across the globe in a spiritual journey of scholarship and service. Learn about all 66 books of the Bible and their theological significance. Find out more about all the enlightening degrees and scholarships at dts.edu. That's dts.edu. Dallas Theological Seminary. Teach truth. Love well.
iHeartRadio presents.
As far as we can tell, the earthquake somehow raised a new landmass out here.
Aftershock, starring Sarah Wayne Callies.
I gotta get out there. She's out there on that island.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
There are corpses all over the Southland.
And David Harbour.
I did my job, Cassie. This is what I do. They were gonna hurt you and I stopped them.
Aftershock. Listen and follow on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Steven Jackson, co-host of the podcast All the Smoke, a production of The Black Effect and iHeartMedia in partnership with Showtime. Each week, my brother Matt Barnes and I, two NBA champions, sit down with the biggest names in sports and culture.
The great DMX, how special was he as an artist?
At his height, he was as big as any rapper out there. I mean, he was one of the greatest to ever touch the mic.
Join Matt and I every week for All the Smoke to hear interviews you won't get anywhere else. Subscribe on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.